Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that was very pleased to learn that it will be the new Captain America in Avengers Infinity War. I've got my own costume. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of America, today we're going to take a look at a game that depicts America's very first declared war, 1812, the Invasion of Canada, from Academy Games. In 1812, the Invasion of Canada, from Academy Games, 2 to 5 players are going to take on the roles of either the Americans or the British in the War of 1812. But it's not just that simple. It's not just 2 sides. Each side is composed of factions. For instance, in the American side, you have the American regulars, the army. You also have American militia. Now, for the British side, of course, you have British regulars, but you also have Canadian militia, and you have their Native American allies. So you have 5 factions into 2 teams on the board. Now, essentially, how the game is played is each faction, gets their own unique deck. Now, this deck has a number of cards. It's going to say how many armies they can move, how far they can move them, as well as various event cards. Now, your units on the board are cubes, depending on which faction. The American regulars are blue, the American militia are white, for instance. Now, whenever the cubes are grouped together in one space, they become an army. So if you have American regulars and American militia in the same space, that is an army. If you have British regulars and Canadian militia and Native American allies in one space, that is an army. Any combination or any single group faction in a space is considered an army. So when you play the card, you're not just moving your faction, you are going to move any of those units from those factions as well, toward wherever you're trying to take them, toward battles or to hold on to cities. Now, the key to winning the game, of course, is to take and hold objective cities, victory cities. So you're trying to push to take these things, but that's the problem because you have to invade your neighbor's territory. If you're the Americans, you're trying to invade north. If you're the British, you're trying to invade south. And as you do so, you surrender the initiative. Because whenever you enter an opposing area and you're fighting there, the other player has initiative. They're going to roll their die first, and combat is not simultaneous. Essentially, the different factions have different dice. They have their own unique dice, and the American and British regulars are never going to roll more than 2 dice, but they're the deadliest dice. The militia and the Native American allies, they're going to roll 3 die, more die, but they're not as effective. So when you roll the dice, 3 things can happen. You can roll a hit, meaning you hit one of your opponent's units. You can roll a blank, meaning you have the option to retreat at that point. Or you can also roll a flee. If you roll a flee, your unit is taken off of the board, out of the battle, and put on kind of the fled box on the board. Now, the very first thing you're going to do during a round, even before you start moving, is you are going to muster your enlistments. Essentially, you are going to get reinforcements, a certain number of reinforcements on certain places on the board. It's going to tell you how many cubes to add. But any units that had fled in the previous battle, then you can add them on top of whatever else is coming in into those spaces as well. Now, the various event cards are going to mix things up. They're going to change things. They're going to allow you to maybe deploy in different places. They're going to allow you to switch cubes around and play all sorts of dirty tricks on your opponents. They can be very effective in this game. But your hand size is always going to be 3 cards. So at the end of your turn, you can, of course, play your movement card, and you can play one of your event cards at the appropriate time. You always bring your hand up to 3 cards at the end of your turn. Now, at some point, you're going to get a truce card. Now, a truce card kind of lets you do a lot of movement, but it also is going to kind of speed the game up, or at least it's going to move you closer to the end of the game, because as soon as one side has played all of their truce cards, all the factions on one side has played all their truce cards, that is the end of the game. So if you're winning, you may want to get those truce cards out as fast as you can, so you can end the game while you're still ahead. Now, as soon as that happens and you have all your factions, all your sides' truce cards out, you end the game. Whoever is holding the most victory cities, they have their flags on those victory cities, wins 1812, the Invasion of Canada. So 1812, the Invasion of Canada is a game that has been around for a few years now. It's been on my radar for a long time. This is a game that I thought looked very fun and interesting, and I've really wanted to play it for a while. Fascinated with the historical content here. The War of 1812, I think, is really cool. And so this is a game that was really on my radar. And I was really too interested in it after I had played Academy Games' Freedom, the Underground Railroad, which is a brilliant game, of course, about trying to help slaves get to trying to get people who were being held as slaves north in the years leading up to the Civil War. That was a brilliant game. I loved the history of that game, and I loved the gameplay of that game. So I was really looking forward to 1812, the invasion of Canada, for those reasons. And as we sat down, we played it, and I played a couple of games now with 4 players, and so one person had to double up with 2 of the factions. But it's very smooth. It's a very smooth, well-designed game. It's very good, and I'll tell you why it's very good. It's good because it forces you to make decisions for the team that maybe your teammate is not too happy with. So there's some negotiation with your teammates. And sometimes you just have to say, screw it, I'm going to do what I want to do, even though you're taking the other guy's units into battle. And then when you're rolling the battle, you have to negotiate, well, who's going to take the hit? So when you're rolling the battles and stuff, do you want to lose men if you're the British regulars because you roll the stronger die, or do you want to have more die stay in the fights so you keep the militia in there, the Canadian militia? It's very interesting, the decisions that makes you do. What's also very interesting, which I didn't mention, is the turn order is random every round. You're kind of pulling out the cubes from the bag to determine who goes first, so you never know who's going to be able to go first each time. What is also very interesting is the idea of the meat grinder that is an invading of your enemy's homeland, because you lose the initiative as soon as you go into their territory, and you're going to take a pounding first, but you gotta so you want to go in with kind of a lot of force because there's going to be some attrition there. But it's brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant the way that works, where you go in and the other side is trying to can just slaughter you as you're attempting to invade their homeland. And I think that is absolutely brilliant. So you're pushing, you're making headway, but it's costing you so much as you do so. Fantastic. It's historical, too. Of course, the British have more naval unit than the Americans do, which is very cool. The various cards that come up, reflect historical realities and historical events and historical characters. And that is cool. So it's a learning game as well as a fun game. And this is a fun game. This is a very fun game. Like I say, I only played a couple of games with 4. I think this game probably really shines with 5. I wouldn't want to play this as a 2-player game. I think the more the merrier. 5 is probably ideal. I haven't played it with 5, but I think that is ideal because then you get more negotiation, more kind of back and forth. I think that is hilarious. It's a fast game. It's a quick game. Easy, easy, easy to learn and to teach game. Very easy. And it is so much fun. I thought I'd like this game. Friends, I love this game. I love 1812, The Invasion of Canada. It is, wow, I'm so bummed I did not play this game earlier because I would have played it a lot more since. This is absolutely fantastic. Academy Games has also made 1775 Rebellion, and they're just coming out with 1754 about the French and Indian War, and I've heard they've got a Viking one coming. I want to play all these games now. I really want to play them all because I think they look absolutely fantastic. So the recommendation for the discriminating gamer for 1812, The Invasion of Canada, is absolutely 100% yes, yes, yes. Buy it! Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer. And I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, while we in the United States affectionately refer to Canada as America's hat, it has come to my attention that the Canadians refer to America as landhoggers, North Mexico, and Trump land. Really, Canada? Really?
Please somebody help me on my feet again. And I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
We need more energy. If we're going into war, we need energy. You know what? Hannibal knew that, all right? Themistocles knew that, and now you know.